So recently, the SEC, they ended their case against Ripple, and this caused an uptick in the price of Bitcoin and altcoins, and Ripple went up 60, 70 odd %. And everybody thinks that this is a good thing for Ripple and for crypto. But is it?
NordVPN is becoming more than just a VPN. Threat protection will guard your device against malicious websites, malware, trackers, and intrusive ads, even if you're not connected to a VPN server at the time. Step up your cybersecurity and stay safe.
Introducing the Decent Wallet, secure, unobtrusive, multi-currency wallet that's celebrating the win of Ripple against the SEC by giving XRP away. For each Decent biometric wallet unit purchased, you will get 30 XRP. But you have to move quickly because this is only available for the first 800 units. Use my affiliate link, bit.ly/decentwallet. Purchase a wallet before July the 30th. Once you get your unit, fill in the form before August the 6th, and provided you're one of the first 800 to do this, you will get 30 XRP by August the 9th. Link in the description below. Hi everybody, this is Crypto Rich, working with you to get rich with crypto, filling our pockets with crypto profits. I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Chris Terry from BTC Data. We're going to be talking about the Ripple and SEC case and the ramifications for cryptos. Now, before I introduce him, please subscribe, follow me on Twitter, CryptoRichYT, join my official Telegram announcements channel. And if you're watching this on YouTube, come on. Come over to Odyssey, bit.ly/CryptoRich. Odyssey, same deal if you're watching me on Rumble. You won't get all the material on YouTube on Rumble, but you will get a whole lot more on Odyssey. And if you sign up, free email sign up, no KYC, you get to earn crypto for watching videos, which can't be bad. Hey, Chris, thank you so much for making yourself available. You are from BTC Data. Do you want to say in a nutshell, very quickly, what is BTC Data?
Well, Rich, good to see you again. Of course, yeah, very quickly, BTC Data, we're basically using Bitcoin for business and allowing companies or individuals to monetize micro data and using BTC and BTC Lightning for instant settlement. So, very quickly in the old days, let's say you had something you wanted to sell for 1 pence or 1 cent or one fraction of a euro. You can't do it with traditional payment methods because the cost of the transaction, a credit card swipe or an ACH or a wire transfer or even an invoice in the mail costs too much money. But with our system, we allow companies to turn around and start harvesting and mining microdata for profits. And so that's just a high overview of what we're doing. And we're just building out right now. We've got a couple pilot customers that are coming out, and hopefully we could do another video about it, and I can show you a live demo. But basically, building Bitcoin for business. I call it phase 2 of Bitcoin. Bitcoin for value, and now Bitcoin for business. So that's what we're working on. We're excited. Thanks for asking.
Very good. And then one of the things I know about you is that you do go through and you watch what's happening in the regulatory space. And you and I got talking about Ripple and the SEC. And I don't know if you've seen the video that I posted recently of Tom Luongo and his take on Ripple, where he said essentially that he thinks it's a good thing and that the SEC had no choice, because what they said is that selling it can't make it a security because it would mean pretty much selling anything would just make it a security, right? But anyway, that was his argument, right? And then you said that you think it's not a good thing, and you've been through the SEC ruling. So do you want to start by just giving a background to how this ruling and this case came about, for anybody who doesn't know?
Well, I can't imagine anybody in the space that doesn't understand, but, the SEC in the United States, very unfortunately, because I am an American, and I thought we had an opportunity to embrace this technology, and particularly, and I'm going to say it under the Biden administration and the Democrats in the U.S., I'm going to be very vocal about that. They have taken an anti-crypto stance for whatever reason. Probably because
I'll tell you the reason, in my opinion. Right,
they're printing trillions of dollars, and they don't want you using Bitcoin. That's it, right?
That's it. And they've got the CBDCs getting ready for us, right? They don't want to.
That's a whole other show, right?
Decentralized crypto.
So anyway, so they started cracking down. There's no legislation here in the United States at all. And Gary Gensler, who's an absolute political animal, has decided to go after crypto, right? It's an easy target. And so they went for basically anybody that ICO'd all the way back, back to 2018 and 19. Going after groups, even for example, like the guys over at Dragon Chain, which were part of the BPSAA, which I participate in. Those guys are a Disney spinoff from the tech department of Disney. They got dragged in like years later, and so it just goes to the SEC going after any group that had any ICO that was any significant size. And of course, the Ripple guys raised a lot of money, And so they just went after them.
Just the US-based ICOs, or are they in true American imperialist fashion going for anybody all over the world?
No, they're going after primarily U.S. ICOs because they have jurisdictional coverage here, right? They can't try to stop somebody from having an ICO in Germany. I mean, they could, but then they'd have to get the German regulators involved. So they're doing any American company, any American management teams, anybody that's doing business in the U.S. primarily here. And of course, the Ripple guys raised, I don't know, $800 million or some extraordinary amount of money that they've sold. I think over all the selling that they've done since they've done Ripple, right? Ripple owns the most amount of Ripple, and they've been selling it into the market for years. And I don't have the numbers, but I had heard it was $700 or $800 million in total. It was a lot of money. I could be wrong, and I'm sure there's some experts out there that'll say, "Oh no, it was X or Y." So so they came out, and the Ripple guys having that much money, right? Like Coinbase, right? Coinbase is up for a big fight, is tied into this, right? Also, they're fighting it, and so they went to court saying, "Look, that this is not a security." And it gets back down to a rule back from decades ago called the Howey rule, which, and I hate to get too into the weeds, but so people to understand what this fight's all about. In the United States, there was a guy that owned an orange orchard named Howey. That was the guy's name, and he basically got people to invest in his orange orchard. And he basically said, "Well, it's not really security, but it is, and therefore I just want your money for the investment." Long story short, the Howey rule basically says if you give somebody money with the expectation that their efforts are going to create profits that you're going to share from, it's a security. And I can get more into the details of that. But generally speaking, if somebody else is going to do the work, but you're going to get a share of the profits, it's called the Howey rule. And that then relates to basically a security, selling that you're selling a security. And it goes back to this guy named Howey.
So that would apply certainly to stocks and shares.
I'm sorry?
That would apply to equities, to stocks and shares.
It does apply to it. And I think this is, it's called. The idea is that if I'm trying to think of the word, I had it earlier today. It's an investment contract, right? And so people think that it has to be an investment contract as it has to be written down, and it doesn't. If it's implied that you're going to make profits from investing in somebody's business, either directly or indirectly, then it's basically security. And so the Ripple case gets back to: are people buying the Ripple token because they think that they're going to make money on it? And quite honestly, the reality is, that's the way all ICOs are, right? They really are. I mean, I'm a crypto guy, and I love crypto, and I love ICOs. But to put that away and say, look, I've been in business for 3-4 decades, and I've raised a lot of money. The reality is, let's call a spade a spade. It is an equity. It is an equity. It is an investment contract, because you're expecting that you're going to buy Ripple. These guys are going to take the money that you give them, and they're going to build something great with it, and it's going to create value, and you're going to share in that upside.
But wouldn't that also apply to Bitcoin, gold, and silver? Because people buy them with the expectation that it'll go up in value.
Well, that's a little bit different, and I'll explain why. So the Ripple is an entity, right? A legal entity, and that's important, with a management team that has basically a driving structure to be able to advance the organization, right?
Right.
And so because of that, and the Ripple guys, and what the case said specifically with the Ripple case, is that you have two groups of people, and this is where I really disagree with the judge. You have the original group of people that says, look, you sold this to institutional players, and these people knew, insiders, VCs, they're smart, that was a security when you sold it. And therefore, you violated security laws. Make no mistake, the Ripple guys lost this case. They got violated for selling an unregistered security. They're guilty, and it says that in the case. So the guys broke the law. So now that part of the case is going to go do what it does. They're going to fight. They're going to appeal. They're going to try to settle with the SEC. But the judge said, you guys sold an unregistered security. You broke the law. Now, the other side of what happened with the judge was that the judge says anybody that bought Ripple on an exchange, it wasn't a security. It wasn't. And that's what everybody's so excited for, saying, oh my God, Ripple won, it's not a security. When I buy Ripple on Coinbase, Coinbase is not selling me a security. Therefore, it's now, the extension of the thought, legal to buy altcoins on an exchange after the ICO, because it's in the secondary market and it's not an investment contract and it's not a security, which honestly, between all of us, is bullshit, because it is. When I buy Coca-Cola stock from Charles Schwab or Fidelity in the United States, just because I don't buy it from Coca-Cola, I buy it from some other schmuck that thinks it's a bad deal, he sells it, right? And so I definitely think that what's going to happen is that this thing is going to get overturned. It is the only thing that the Ripple case is doing at this point in time, which is beneficial to the crypto world for sure, is it put a road bump in front of the SEC. Right now, the SEC under Gary Gensler has been steamrolling everybody in the crypto world, putting, let's say, everybody in jail, and I mean that by lawsuits and ruining their businesses and shutting people down and multi-million-dollar fines. The guy's been a bull in a china shop, destroying the crypto environment. And this was the first time somebody said, hey, wait a minute, slow down. So it is a small victory for crypto in the fact that it's taken some of the momentum out of the SEC temporarily, right? That's it. So the Ripple guys lost the case. They violated the law. They sold an unregistered security, and the guys are in trouble. However, anybody that bought Ripple on the open exchange, it's not considered a security. But I would tell you, in all honesty, and I hate to say this because the crypto people are going to flame me, but the reality is if you buy Coca-Cola stock from somebody else, it's still a security. And I really don't know, how over time that the second side of the ruling won't get overturned because it makes sense. And then you said, Chris, but what about Bitcoin and other things? And here is the difference between Bitcoin and Ripple, and even Ethereum could be exposed to this because the Ethereum Foundation and a central organization and a legal structure and people guiding early Ethereum, and even now videos of Vitalik Buterin talking about the investment and buying the crypto and all that. All these old early videos are surfacing, basically saying that he's outselling, an investment contract, or he's outselling some type of digital financial asset. With Bitcoin, it's considered a commodity, and I want to be very clear about what that means. And this is why I'm so bullish on Bitcoin now, is even in the United States, the SEC, all the regulatory environment here, all the CFTC, the SEC, the word salad of all these agencies, and even around the world, says Bitcoin is a commodity. And the reason why it is, they consider it like let's say almost like a natural asset. Right. Nobody owns it, nobody controls it. It's out in the wild on its own. And for all intents and purposes, and the analogy I use in our new business that I've got with my team, is that when we use Bitcoin for settlement, we're using a commodity. So, for example, Crypto Rich, I'm going to wash your car, and you say, "Hey, Chris, I live in London. I'm going to charge you I'm going to pay you £10 to wash my car." And I say, "Okay, that's fine." And we're using a currency to settle. But you could also say, of course, I'm in Florida. So you could also say, "Hey, Chris, I'm going to pay you a case of oranges." I'm like, yeah, I'll take a case of oranges. I like oranges, right? And that's what Bitcoin is. It's an orange, or right. It could be a gallon of milk, or it could be I don't know. It could be a quart of oil or some gasoline or what have you. So it's basically settling. It's like barter from the old days, settling our trade in a real world asset. And so because it's not a security and it's a commodity, they say that if you want to pay me oranges to wash your car, that's not a security. An orange is not a security. It's not an investment contract. The orange comes out of the ground naturally. It's grown or whether by nature, and we decide to trade in oranges. And so this regulatory clarity really, as I look at Bitcoin now, and that's kind of what my latest Medium article was about, is after 5 years in the altcoin space, really realizing that it's not going to work. The regulatory environment is so negative for it. There's so much noise and chaos, and that stuff like Ripple, it's honestly, the good news is it's going to slow down the SEC, but it doesn't change what's happened. I'm hoping also, for example, Brian Armstrong today is meeting with the Democrats in the United States in private meetings, that we're trying to get some regulatory clarity in the United States to be able to decide, for example, like Ripple, it's not really a share of stock, right? You can't vote with Ripple, right? And you don't have ownership in the Ripple Corporation. You don't. I don't own Ripple Corporation. I can't vote with Ripple. But wait a minute. If we turn it into a DAO, then I can vote. So then maybe it is more like a security because now I can vote with it. But do I own the asset of Ripple? Well, not really. And so digital assets, we could say, now taking the Bitcoin hat or the altcoin hat or the crypto or the libertarian hat, we could say bullshit. You can't vote with it. I don't own the corporation. I don't get a dividend paid by this particular asset. I expect profits. Just like when I buy an orange, I hope if I buy it small when it's on the vine, I hope it gets big and fat, right? And the orange is going to grow, and therefore, something like that. So really, this new technology of digital finance it's really upsetting things. But in the United States specifically, as it stands today, it's either a security or it's not. And the term for security solely is on the Howey test, and they're trying to say it's the expectation of profits. And people bought Ripple, and the management team got people to buy Ripple, saying, look, if you buy our asset, we're going to do great things with it, and it's going to go up in value. That was implied when you bought it. Maybe you didn't sign a piece of paper and have a guarantee, but that's the idea, and that's what the SEC is hanging. So what I hope will happen is it'll slow things down. It'll slow down the SEC. It'll get Congress to get off its ass to be able to provide some regulatory clarity, like what they did with MiCA in Europe. The Europeans hit a home run, and I hope you guys in the UK also do the same. I think you're going to be probably 12 to 18 months behind Europe, but Europe has got a regulatory framework that looks at these assets, realizing that it isn't quite a commodity, but it really isn't just a security, and we need to have a new regulatory environment to embrace this technology, right? But in the U.S., as it stands today, it's an effing mess. It's really a mess. So Ripple's good for us. It slows things down. But anybody that buys Ripple now thinking it's going to moon, they're out of their minds. If I was the Ripple guys, I'd be selling into this rally to be able to pay my legal fees. But Ripple's not out of the woods. And anybody that says it is has no idea what the law is.
Chris,
I mean, I'm pretty opinionated on that.
Listen, thank you so much for that take. And just to make it clear, I did own Ripple back in 2017. I sold it at a profit. I don't have any Ripple. I think Ripple is it's very fast, very cheap to transact, but I have my concerns about it because it's so centralized. And the thing that I'm just going to finish up now. The thing that made it key for me is when you said that there is a central organization underneath Ripple, as there is with Ethereum, as there is with many crypto assets, but there isn't anything like that with Bitcoin. There's no Bitcoin company as running the show, right? Now there is Bitcoin Data, which is separate. And what you do is you're going to be using Bitcoin for business, and maybe one day we'll get to talk about that. But thank you so much for this take on Ripple. I'm going to have you back on in a few days' time and stuff, and we can talk about, because the other thing you've said to me is about Bitcoin versus altcoins, that you're now moving towards the Bitcoin maxi. And I'd love to have that conversation with you because I hedge my bets. I have Bitcoin, I have altcoins, right? So really, really appreciate it. Anybody who's watching, if you have any comments or questions, put them in the description below. Do you hold Ripple? Where do you think Ripple's going to go? Is Ripple a security or not? This is Crypto Rich and Crypto Chris signing out. All the best. Bye-bye.